Commander Vex-9 adjusted his optical sensors, staring at the containment cell through reinforced bioglass. The human female sat cross-legged on the metal floor, humming something that sounded like, what did they call it? Music? Her dark hair hung loose around her shoulders, and those peculiar brown eyes remained closed in what appeared to be meditation. Status report, Technician Kral, Vex-9 demanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered 17 star systems. Kral's tentacles twitched nervously as he consulted his data pad. Subject designation Terra Female Alpha has been exposed to our neural conditioning protocols for 72 standard cycles, Commander. Yet, the results are, unexpected. Unexpected? Vex-9's mandibles clicked together in annoyance. Define unexpected, Technician. The younger Zephyrian shifted his weight from one leg to another, a gesture that in their species indicated extreme discomfort. Well, sir, instead of breaking down her mental defenses as predicted, she appears to be strengthening them. Our psychic dampeners have no effect whatsoever. Vex-9 turned his attention back to the human. Maya Reese. Age 28. Former communications specialist aboard the human vessel Defiant Hope. The only survivor when they had intercepted the ship 3 months ago. At least, the only one they had kept alive for research purposes. And the memory extraction, he asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Completely unsuccessful, Commander. Every time we attempt to probe her consciousness, she somehow redirects our equipment. Yesterday, Interrogator Thane tried to access her childhood memories and ended up reliving his own molting cycle for 6 hours. A sharp laugh escaped Vex-9's throat. The Zephyrian Empire had perfected mind-reading technology over 3 millennia. They had broken the will of countless species across the galaxy. Yet this single human female was making them look like amateurs. Perhaps we need to increase the intensity, suggested Kral, though his voice lacked conviction. We tried that 2 weeks ago, remember? Interrogator Nex ended up convinced he was a human child named Bobby and spent 3 days asking for something called ice cream. The human, Maya, opened her eyes and looked directly at them through the one-way glass. Impossible. The bioglass was designed to be completely opaque from her side. Yet those brown eyes seemed to stare right into Vex-9's soul. She smiled. A slow, knowing expression that sent an uncomfortable chill through his exoskeleton. Commander, Kral whispered, I think she can see us. Don't be ridiculous. Our technology is flawless. She's probably just. Vex-9's words died as Maya raised her hand and waved at them. A casual, almost mocking gesture, then she spoke, her voice somehow carrying through the soundproof barrier as if the walls were made of paper. Hello, Commander Vex-9. Hello, Technician Kral. Having a nice day discussing my psychological profile? Both Zephyrians stumbled backward. Kral's data pad clattered to the floor. How is she doing that? Vex-9 demanded. The cell is completely isolated. Maya stood up, brushing dust off her simple gray uniform. You know, for such an advanced species, you really don't understand the first thing about human consciousness, do you? You've been trying to crack my mind like it's some sort of computer program. But here's the thing. She paused, placing her palm against the bioglass. You can't hack what you don't comprehend. The lights in the corridor began to flicker. Emergency klaxons wailed in the distance. What's happening? Kral grabbed his commander's arm with a trembling tentacle. I don't know. Vex-9 activated his communicator. Control Center, report. The voice that came through was panic-stricken. Commander. We're experiencing massive system failures across all decks. It's like something is rewriting our computer networks from the inside. Maya's smile widened. Oh, that would be me. You see, while you were so busy trying to read my thoughts, you never considered that I might be reading yours. Every time you hooked those machines up to my head, you created a two-way connection. And I've had 3 months to learn your language, your technology, your security codes. The bioglass began to spider with hairline cracks. Impossible. Vex 9 snarled. Human brains are primitive. You lack our advanced neural architecture. Primitive? Maya tilted her head, still smiling. Is that what you think? You measure intelligence by how many tentacles someone has, or how many eyes they can blink at once. But you missed something crucial about humans, Commander. The cracks in the glass spread wider. We don't just adapt to our environment, Maya continued, her voice taking on an eerie quality. We adapt our environment to us. We turn deserts into gardens, we make machines that think, we look at the impossible and say, watch me. And when something tries to break us, the glass shattered completely, showering the corridor with glittering fragments. We break it right back. Maya stepped through the opening as if walking through a doorway. No alarm sounded. No security barriers activated. The ship's systems seemed to be bending to her will. Security. Security to detention level 7. Vex 9 screamed into his communicator. I'm afraid your security forces are a bit preoccupied at the moment, Maya said, examining her fingernails with casual interest. You see, about 10 minutes ago, they all received direct neural commands from High Admiral ZYX himself, ordering them to report to the cargo bays for immediate evacuation drills. High Admiral ZYX is in the core worlds. He's nowhere near this ship. Oh, I know. But your communication systems don't. Funny thing about networks, once you understand the underlying architecture, you can make them say whatever you want them to say. Kral was hyperventilating, his breathing apparatus wheezing rapidly. Commander, we need to evacuate. We need to warn the fleet. Warn them about what? Maya asked innocently. That your most advanced interrogation facility was outsmarted by a supposedly primitive human? That your unbreakable mind-reading technology was reverse-engineered by someone with a simple, organic brain? She began walking down the corridor, and to Vex 9's horror, his legs moved to follow her. Against his will, step by step, he found himself marching behind the human like an obedient pet. What are you doing to me? He gasped. Nothing you didn't do to yourselves. Every Zephyrian on this ship has been exposed to the same neural conditioning equipment you've been using on me. The same equipment that's now under my control. The same equipment that's been very quietly rewriting your brain patterns for the past 72 cycles. They reached a transport lift. The doors opened without anyone pressing the call button. You're lying, Vex 9 said, though his voice shook with uncertainty. We have safeguards. Protections. Against external threats? Sure. But what about internal ones? What about commands that come from your own equipment, bearing all the proper authorization codes, using your own command protocols? Maya stepped into the lift, and the two Zephyrians followed helplessly. You never considered that your prisoner might become your programmer. As the lift ascended toward the command deck, Maya began to hum again. That same strange melody from her cell. Now, though, Vex 9 realized what it was. A funeral dirge. And it wasn't just random noise, it was being broadcast on all ship frequencies, reaching every Zephyrian mind aboard the vessel. The beautiful thing about your species, Maya mused, is how interconnected your consciousness is. Very efficient for group coordination. Very vulnerable to someone who knows which buttons to push. The lift stopped at command level, and the doors opened to reveal the ship's bridge. Every Zephyrian officer stood at perfect attention, their eyes vacant and staring. At the center of the command station, Captain Yurix, the most decorated military commander in the Zephyrian fleet, sat motionless in his command throne. Captain, Maya called out cheerfully. Status report, please. Captain Yurix turned his head with mechanical precision. When he spoke, his voice was flat and emotionless, all systems operating under new command authority. Fleet communications have been redirected. Navigation is locked onto new heading, Earth coordinates. Vex 9 felt his sanity slipping away. This isn't possible. You're just one human. One person. Maya walked to the captain's chair and gently placed her hand on Yurix's shoulder. Just one person? Commander, that's where you made your biggest mistake. You thought capturing me would give you insight into human weakness. Instead, you gave me insight into Zephyrian strength. She gestured toward the view screen, which now displayed a tactical readout of the entire Zephyrian invasion fleet, hundreds of ships spread across the star system. And now that I understand how your hive mind communication works, how your command structure functions, how your technology integrates with your biology. Maya's smile became predatory. Well, let's just say that by tomorrow morning, every Zephyrian commander in this fleet is going to be very interested in discussing peace treaties with Earth. The last thing Vex 9 remembered before his own consciousness slipped into Maya's control was the sound of her laughter echoing through the bridge. Not maniacal or evil, just genuinely amused. The laugh of someone who had just pulled off the greatest magic trick in galactic history, and in the depths of space, 300 Zephyrian warships began changing course, heading not toward Earth's destruction, but toward humanity's greatest victory. Admiral Keth Prime had commanded the Zephyrian Third Fleet for over 2 centuries. He had witnessed the fall of the Andromedans, the conquest of the Silicon Confederacy, and the complete subjugation of 47 different species. Nothing in his vast experience had prepared him for the transmission he was receiving from Captain Yurix's flagship. Repeat that last message, Keth Prime demanded, his 4 eyes focusing intently on the communication array. The voice that came through belonged to Captain Yurix, but something was wrong with the inflection. Too cheerful. Admiral, this is Captain Yurix reporting successful completion of prisoner interrogation. I am requesting immediate fleet-wide conference to discuss new strategic initiatives regarding the human homeworld. Commander Thex, Keth Prime's second-in-command, leaned closer to the console. Sir, Captain Yurix's biosignatures are unusual. His neural patterns don't match his baseline readings. Define unusual, Commander. His brainwave patterns are synchronized with an unknown frequency. It's almost like he's harmonizing with something. Admiral Keth Prime's mandibles clicked nervously. In all his years of conquest, he had learned to trust his instincts. And right now, every instinct was screaming danger. Establish visual contact with the flagship, he ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of Captain Yurix's vessel. Everything appeared normal at first glance. The captain sat in his command throne, his officers at their stations. But their eyes were wrong. Too focused. Too serene. Greetings, Admiral, Captain Yurix said, and his voice carried that same disturbing cheerfulness. I trust you are well this cycle? Captain, your last several reports have been irregular. What is the status of the human prisoner? Captain Yurix smiled. Keth Prime had known Yurix for decades, and the captain never smiled. Ever. The human prisoner has provided us with invaluable intelligence, Admiral. In fact, she has volunteered to assist us in developing a new approach to human-Zephyrian relations. Behind Captain Yurix, a figure stepped into view. The human female they had captured months ago. But she wasn't restrained. She wasn't even guarded. She moved freely around the bridge as if she owned it. Hello, Admiral Keth Prime, the human said, waving at the screen with that bizarre human gesture. Maya Reese, pleased to make your acquaintance. I've heard so much about your military achievements. Every alarm in Keth Prime's head began blaring at once. Captain Yurix. Explain why the prisoner is not in containment. Containment proved unnecessary, Admiral. Miss Reese has been extraordinarily cooperative. In fact, she's helped us understand some fundamental errors in our approach to human psychology. Maya stepped closer to the camera, and Keth Prime found himself staring into those strange brown eyes. You see, Admiral, your people made a critical miscalculation. You assumed that because humans lack your advanced telepathic abilities, we're mentally inferior. But isolation isn't always a weakness. Commander Thex, Keth Prime whispered, are you detecting any unauthorized transmissions from the flagship? Negative, sir. But... Thex paused, consulting his instruments. Sir, I'm reading similar neural synchronization patterns from 17 other ships in the fleet. 17 ships. Nearly a sixth of his entire armada. Maya continued speaking, seemingly oblivious to the growing panic on Keth Prime's bridge. When your minds are all connected, sharing thoughts and emotions, you become incredibly efficient. But you also become incredibly vulnerable. It's like having a computer network with no firewalls. Captain Yurix. Keth Prime barked. You will return the prisoner to secure containment immediately, or I will have your ship quarantined. Captain Yurix's smile widened. I'm afraid that won't be possible, Admiral. You see, Miss Reese isn't really our prisoner anymore. We're hers. The statement hung in the space between ships like a death sentence. Impossible, Keth Prime snarled. Humans don't possess the mental capacity to control Zephyrian consciousness. Maya laughed, a sound that somehow carried perfectly through the communication system despite the background noise that should have made it impossible. Mental capacity? Oh, Admiral, you're still thinking about this all wrong. I don't need to be smarter than you. I just need to be different. She gestured toward Captain Yurix and his crew. Your people think in patterns. Beautiful, complex, interconnected patterns. But patterns can be predicted. And once you understand the pattern, every screen on Admiral Keth Prime's bridge suddenly flickered. For just a moment, Maya's face appeared on every display, every instrument panel, every communication array. You can rewrite it. Commander Thex stumbled backward from his station. Admiral. Our systems. Something's infiltrating our networks. Cut all communications with the flagship. Keth Prime ordered. Activate emergency isolation protocols. I'm trying, sir. The systems aren't responding to our commands. Maya's image smiled at them from dozens of screens simultaneously. Too late for that, I'm afraid. You see, while we've been having this lovely chat, I've been having similar conversations with 43 other ship commanders in your fleet. And they've all been just as cooperative as Captain Yurix. The tactical display showed a horrifying sight. Nearly half the fleet had changed course, moving into a defensive formation around Maya's ship. The vessels that remained under Keth Prime's control were now completely surrounded. This is impossible. Keth Prime raged. Our security protocols are unbreakable. Our encryption is mathematically perfect. Your encryption is perfect for keeping other Zephyrians out, Maya agreed. But I'm not a Zephyrian. I think in ways your systems were never designed to account for. Linear instead of networked. Individual instead of collective. Chaotic instead of ordered. She paused, and her expression grew more serious. But here's what really gave me the advantage, Admiral. You tortured me for 3 months, trying to break my mind. Every day, every hour, you exposed me to your technology, your thought patterns, your neural frequencies. You thought you were studying me. Maya's smile returned, but now it held no warmth at all. I was studying you. The lights on Admiral Keth Prime's bridge began to flicker in a rhythmic pattern. His crew members stopped what they were doing and stared at the displays with growing confusion. Stop this. Keth Prime demanded. Whatever you're doing, stop it immediately. I'm not doing anything to you, Admiral. I'm simply broadcasting the same neural conditioning frequencies your own people used on me. Frequencies that are now hard-coded into your fleet's communication systems. Frequencies that your crews have been absorbing for the past 20 minutes of our conversation. Commander Thex turned to look at his Admiral with glassy, unfocused eyes. Admiral, he said in a voice that sounded nothing like his own, I think we should listen to what Miss Reese has to say. Panic clawed at Keth Prime's throat. Thex. Snap out of it. Fight the conditioning. There's nothing to fight, Maya said gently. I'm not controlling their minds, Admiral. I'm freeing them. For the first time in their lives, your people can think as individuals instead of just nodes in a collective network. They can make their own choices. One by one, the bridge crew turned to stare at their admiral. Their expressions weren't hostile or vacant. They looked curious. As if seeing him clearly for the first time. Sir, said Navigation Officer Plex, I've been thinking about our mission here. About the orders to destroy the human homeworld. And I have to ask, why? Because they are inferior. Keth Prime snapped. Because they threaten our expansion. But they don't, do they? Communication specialist Nora chimed in. They're confined to a single star system. They have no faster-than-light travel. They couldn't threaten us if they tried. They're a potential threat. In the future. So we're committing genocide based on something humans might do someday? Asked Weapons Officer Kex. That doesn't seem very logical, sir. Admiral Keth Prime realized with growing horror that his crew wasn't being controlled. They were thinking. Making independent judgments. Questioning orders they had never questioned before. This is mutiny, he roared. Maya's voice came through the speakers one final time. No, Admiral. This is evolution. Your people have spent so long thinking as a collective that they forgot how to think as individuals. I didn't brainwash them. I unwashed their brains. The tactical display showed the final ships in the fleet changing sides. Admiral Keth Prime stood alone on his bridge, the only Zephyrian in the entire armada still operating under the old patterns of thought. What do you want? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I want to go home, Maya said simply. And I want to take some friends with me. Your crews have decided they'd rather explore the galaxy than conquer it. They'd rather learn about other species than destroy them. Captain Yerix appeared on screen again, but now his expression looked genuinely natural. Admiral, we're setting course for Earth. Not to attack it, but to establish diplomatic relations. The humans have much to teach us about individual thinking, and we have much to offer them about collective cooperation. You're betraying your own empire. No, sir, said Commander Thex quietly. We're improving it. Admiral Keth Prime looked around his bridge at faces that now showed compassion, curiosity, and hope instead of blind obedience. In the space of a single conversation, Maya Reese had accomplished what no military force in galactic history had managed. She had liberated an entire civilization from its own limitations. As the Great Fleet turned toward Earth, carrying not weapons of destruction but ambassadors of peace, Admiral Keth Prime finally understood the truth that would reshape the galaxy. Sometimes the greatest victory comes not from breaking your enemy, but from freeing them to become something better than they ever imagined possible.